I am Tamara Spinner, and I am really excited to get at it today. Women have had to fight for their roles in society, have had to fight not just for a seat at the table, but respect and the opportunity to use their voice and be heard. I think that, it's just not so long ago, right? The same way we talk about the distance between us and the civil rights movement, women were impacted as well. I mean, it's like just in the 70s, I think we were able to open bank accounts on our own. I mean, that's crazy.
All right, let's try to remember this. So on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3.
3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. All right, first let me take off my rodeo joint. What do I say in the beginning?
There are things we all
know, but never say out loud.
But rarely say out loud. There are things we all know, but rarely say out loud.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. There are things we all know, but rarely say out loud.
Because the hardest things to say are the easiest patterns to repeat.
I am Enitan Bereola II, co-founder of St. Miles, best-selling author and cultural architect.
And I'm Martin Ekechukwu, entrepreneur, investor, husband to this amazing woman right here, and founder of What Works.
And this is
Quiet Truth.
Where
Yeah,
every
we got that
week,
on. Nice.
every week we sit down with cultural architects, creatives, and the cool kids and the leaders of the new school to discuss what most people won't.
No doubt. And so, listen, we're incredibly excited to have one of the most amazing people, one of the most brilliant people that I know.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not biased at all.
Look at this. This is
Like
good.
zero bias. I'm
This
being
is a
super
special
objective.
episode.
Super objective. All objective, right? But Tamara Spinner, Zachary Ekechukwu, Tamara Zachary Ekechukwu, Tamara Spinner Ekechukwu. I don't know, which one is it today?
Well, I hold two roles today, so I'm Tamara Spinner, but I'm always Tamara Ekechukwu.
Ah, very nice. Very nice. We're excited to actually have you on today because we feel like you have an incredible point of view being an executive related to anything within, healthcare, brand, marketing, people, health, just your wealth of knowledge is incredibly vast, and we want to tap into it, in particular because we have had multiple conversations, the three of us, frankly, about why it's so difficult for men in particular to be able to take direction from women in power, right? Because I feel like, and frankly, we are in a very special scenario to where we're business partners, right? And I have to take a lot of things that my wife will say in the house, and sometimes I take what she says at work, right? So there's like, and actually I love working for women, frankly. I've always have, because I feel like they've got a particular point of view that you can't find anywhere else,
1000%.
and the consideration and the knowledge and the thoughtfulness is much richer. But it's also because I've grown with an amazing mom, an incredible sister, two sisters that are very, very much more involved in my life than they probably should be as an adult, frankly. But it's amazing. But please, Tamara, if you don't mind introducing yourself to the crowd.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Martin, or Mike Chilaka, really, and Enitan. This is really special for me for many reasons. One, because first and foremost, as your spouse, Martin, to see this come together so beautifully and to have conversations that I think more people should have is really special and timely. And I think also it's important that I say how I really feel. And it's what I told you yesterday, that I think when not rehearsing for this conversation, but really just talking about the great work you're doing, I think what's actually really special about what the two of you are doing is to bring together two successful Black men doing their thing, at the heart being true entrepreneurs cultural zeitgeists, like really taking the time to have honest conversations and dispel some of the myths about Black men and what is possible. So more than just the topics, I think the coming together this way is really special and pretty incredible. So thank you for doing that for my son, our sons, all children, young women and men of all colors to see this. So thank you. Who am I? I'm Tamara. I have, as my amazing husband said, many names. But at core, I'm the same person. I'm a girl from Montreal, raised by two incredible parents who, I think it's important to mention this to set the playing field, as a saying, so that people understand the perspective from which I come. And so born and raised in Montreal in the 70s, to a Black Caribbean mother and a white Canadian father who's very deeply into his Ashkenaz culture, his parents being Ukrainian and Romanian. So being raised in that time with the decisions that my parents made, and really them always being incredibly honest about who they were, their love, and who I was expected to be because of the possibilities were infinite, I have a really sort of unique, not unique, but verbose. I'm very verbose about what I think is possible for women, what I think is possible really for all people at every age. And anyone who knows me knows that to be true. I expect a lot, whether you're like 3, 5 years old or, 78 like my dad. But I'm excited about this conversation because I think it's really, really timely. I think that women have had to fight for their roles in society, have had to fight not just for a seat at the table, but respect and the opportunity to use their voice and be heard. I think that, it's just not so long ago, right? The same way we talk about the distance between us and the civil rights movement, women were impacted as well. I mean, it's like just in the 70s, I think we were able to open bank accounts on our own. I mean, that's crazy in my lifetime. I mean, that sounds
that's nuts.
Insane, but it's true, right? And so I think really, as we think about where women are in society today, the thing that has struck me over the last year, as we watched Kamala run for president, as many of us, still remember even the amazing Hillary Clinton run for president, I realized something. I realized that so many other things have changed in society. Technology continues to change and grow. Science continues to grow and change. But there are certain things in society and tradition that are not advancing at the same pace. Yeah. And then we look at each other and expect to move along with those changes, but we should still be the same. And I don't think it really works like that. So obviously, Martin, you and I have a unique situation because being partners in business and life is really it's like a subsect, I think, of what we should really talk about today, because not many people have that, and we can touch on it a bit.
I just want to know how you do it.
We will.
My wife, it's hard. It's man, I'm still trying to learn how to.
It's
listen.
It's not easy.
To work together in a business.
And I'll tell you the truth, right? The thing about this is that.
that look, here it comes. Come on,
quiet
come on with
truth.
it. Quiet
right.
truth.
This is usually where people know I go into a whisper, but I'm not going to whisper this. Okay, let's put to rest. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking. So let's set the record straight about you and I. So we met first as professionals.
Yes.
We worked together first. We became friends, trusted advisors, confidants, both in our own separate lives. And there was nothing happening. And as our personal lives changed such that it allowed us to potentially explore something, you have to know. And anyone who knows me is like, I wear a badge of honor of like, I don't poop where I eat. Okay? I guess I'm allowed to swear, right?
You can do
I
anything you
can't
want,
swear?
Sonny.
My God, I can
He's
say
ain't cussing up a
shit.
storm. I ain't said nothing.
Okay. But anyway, right, like I really pride myself on the fact that, you know, I keep business and pleasure separate, particularly as it relates to romance. And so this decision was really easy. I always say, what do I say? It's the easiest,
difficult.
it's the easiest, hardest thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
One, because obviously I admire you and think the world of you, and I always talk and boast about my husband's big, brilliant mind. But we both came as fully formed humans with two big lives, very disparate experiences, big boss-like personalities. And then you have to like marry, literally, actually marry. We get married. And so now you're bringing two 40-something-year-olds' personal experiences together and all the traditions and things that we've created independently, marry that, actually, and now actually also continue to work together and build a business and make decisions about things we want to do. And as you can imagine, right, we both have very strong personalities. We have very strong convictions. And I think it's those moments where we have to find the middle ground that sometimes can be complicated and sometimes are just, it's hard. That said, you know, Martin, and I'm going to go there are times I have said that, like, I didn't see this in you. I think this is, like, a little sexist. And you're like, what, me? I have my mother and my sister, and I love women, and I've worked for
Did you ever
women.
use misogynist? No, you haven't used that. You used sexist for sure. But there was some. No, not
what's
misogynist.
the-
There was another one. It's like well, first of all, I get a mansplaining sometimes.
Yeah, so listen, I can't help it, right? I interrupt. I also the Trini background. All Trinis.
Fire.
We know.
It's all fire.
No, slow down. I didn't mean fire, but we are born to tell other people about themselves.
Yeah.
So, right, that's like another thing. We don't hold anything in. And then if there's any truth to astrological signs, I'm an Aries. I can't keep anything in. I wear everything on my sleeve. I'll tell you in the moment right now, you're fucking with me. I don't like you, but once I get it out, like literally we can be best friends 2 minutes later. That's just how I am. So I think all those things took Martin getting used to and like sometimes understanding this is business, this is pleasure.
Wow.
And every day it's an evolution and a process for us both to learn, because I've literally gotten off business calls where someone will call me and go, you know, that's your husband. You probably should go like a little lighter on him. It's going to be hard on him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Is anyone calling him and saying that? Maybe. But that is born of underlying sexism.
Oh,
I love
this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
It
like,
it is, right?
I love
Because
this
like,
topic.
why are you telling me I should be wary of his feelings? What about my feelings?
Yeah.
Right? What about like two things can be true, but we have to make sometimes a decision just has to be made. So some person may feel like they're going to lose their position or lose their argument. That said, I heard something wonderful this week, and I think it could help us, like, we should talk about this a little bit. Because even though their dynamic is clearly very different, because they're not related, they're not married, there was no sort of personal relationship, I had the good fortune of listening to Melody Hobson speak in a webinar this past
shout
week.
out to Melody Hobson.
Right. The incomparable Melody
Dresses
Hobson.
very well.
Yes.
She always has on that.
To, at Ariel Investments. And she runs that business with John Rogers, who started Ariel Investments in 1983. And one of the things that I picked up from what she said in the conversation was what's amazing about their partnership, and the reason she plans to work there till the end, it's actually what she said, until the end, is that they have a respect for each other that is really special because it's born of understanding every day they are chasing the same goal. Even if they have a difference in approach or opinion, they never forget that at core they want the same thing. Then she proceeded to say the thing that's most important here, which is she believes that he's a great partner because he had an incredibly accomplished Black mother who she's world renowned, very famous. I hope I don't butcher her last name, but her name is Jules Lafontaine. She is the first female Black woman to graduate from University of Chicago Law in 1946. She was a staunch Republican. She actually was so Republican, many people don't realize she's the woman who introduced at the Republican Party convention, she introduced Richard Nixon. Okay, like you don't get more Republican than that. Yeah. But the point is really not about the politics, but that he was raised with a strong Black mother and what it was like to see her in those positions and fight for those roles, and then also as a role model in the home. So he comes to the table every day at work, she believes, with a disposition, which allows him to be a partner with a strong Black woman because he has the experience of it. So my question actually to you all is really, we teach our kids like, oh, you have to see it to believe it. You have to know it. You have to be around it to understand it, right? So John Rogers obviously had that example. It left me wondering, is part of it that as we worked so hard, and my sisters behind me and those of us that continue to fight for equality and for, breaking down sexism and bias every day, is it just that we did not teach men along the way how to deal with us and how to learn the same things we're learning, to be prepared to have a woman at not just sometimes at the seat of the table next to you, but actually as your boss and someone you report to?
I mean, I'd say there's a generation that will argue that these women they're not going to teach a grown man anything.
Right.
Now, do I agree with that? I believe that as human beings, let's take like this division of sex and male, female, man, woman out of it, and just say as human beings, like, yeah, we're created to relate. We need to be able to teach each other in the same way we were talking about yesterday. Our kids, like, we love them equally but differently because they're different human beings and they require different things. So yeah, like if we just, like I said in the last episode, we marry strangers, and if you're marrying somebody or relating to somebody, getting in a relationship with somebody, yeah, you need to teach them what you like, right? Like you can't just expect someone to come to the table knowing your entire like list of desires and expectations. Like, yes, we will know some things, but as we get to know you over time and as you grow and develop, because we shift and grow and change in marriage, you need to teach. Yes, we're learning and willing to learn, but yes, there's some teaching that has to happen on both sides. Yeah. And I disagree with the generation that says like you should just come to the table with the full table and like I don't got to teach you nothing. You like, no, the beauty of my marriage is my wife teaches me a lot. I didn't care about sunsets and beaches before her. Like I love that. I put her onto a lot. She puts me onto a lot. She's the impetus of this podcast. You know what I mean? Miles, Martin and I were in Dallas, and she saw us on stage and was like, yo, y'all should maybe think about doing a podcast. And here we are. You know what I mean? And we got on a call and got some lessons for her. She taught us some things about putting this together. So yeah, I mean, like we're 12 years in and 5 years together. And it's like, yo, yeah, you still teach me and I still teach you. That's the beauty of this relationship. So I disagree with that mindset. And I think that we're going to see, I don't want to project this, but a really interesting dynamic if young women are like not available or uninterested in teaching whoever their partner is how to better love them, how to better serve them along the way.
So I think that there's the point of relationships, men and women, and the learning that comes along from being in a relationship with someone to where you want to be respectful and loving, conscientious, as well as giving the partner what they need. And that requires you to come to the table and to want to learn right? You have to be willing
sure.
to soak up information and
1000%.
not come there so rigid. And unfortunately, sometimes we do
Most
come
men
rigid.
don't. Yeah.
We come rigid, and we're not changing. That's I'm old dog. You're not going to teach me shit. The whole thing. And I can say for myself that I've been open. I think at least I've been open enough. But I've tried to be open enough to be able to say, listen, I want to be. Yet I am who I am. But yet there are these areas where absolutely I'd love to be able to learn more. I think the challenge we're having outside of the home when it comes to any other place in society is that, unfortunately, similar to having a civil rights movement, the women's suffrage movement is also relatively fresh. And with that relatively freshness that still exists within some women's lifetime, right, the understanding of women in power is still at odds with the American culture and American mindset at the end of the day.
Such a strange thing.
So that unfortunate butting of the heads when it comes to that, because we still, in some parts of the country, you probably won't even find a black person in some part of the country, let alone finding a woman of power in other parts of the country as well. So there's the usage of, or rather not necessarily usage, but there's the visibility to be able to see someone there that for a lot of people, they don't understand it. And so if you don't have access to it, have visibility to it, you'll never be able to get used to it to where that will then seep into your household. I have strong women in my life. I've gone to countries where there are amazing women that are leaders. So I'm going to come to my house and teach my sons, you may not agree, but you're going to respect the women in power.
Yeah.
And what they do, you're going to work side by side with them. You're going to respect what their background, their beliefs. You may be angry about it, whatever, but you got to respect them for it.
Yeah.
Period, point blank.
Yeah.
So
I really appreciate that, and I think that's true, and I think more of you should, sort of galvanize these truths to other people, right? But the truth is, so you mentioned other countries, right? We can go through all the lists of the countries who've had female leaders. I mean, it's really embarrassing, right? Who started in the 60s, from everyone from Golda Meir to, Indira Gandhi to Margaret Thatcher. We could go on and on. I mean, we're like far behind.
Margaret Thatcher was in the 80s.
Listen, Indira was in the 60s.
That was crazy.
Okay?
Beyonce
right?
was
I mean,
in the 2000s.
African countries have had female leaders, and we still, in the United States, have men who are really willing to express that they are uncomfortable with a women leader. They are uncomfortable reporting to a leader. I mean, we just heard, rest in peace, but people who are not afraid to tell women, young women, they should get a good husband and stay home.
Yeah.
Right? There are people who genuinely believe that. The other part of this, right, is that's sort of unspoken, is control and money, right? So even though there are women who make it to the table and have these great, incredible opportunities, most are still living at that 17% wage gap, right? I'm making 83 cents for every dollar you're making, right? So for a woman working her ass off to get to that position, right, and then still be the only one at the table, I can go way deep on this and get really precise with the examples if you'd like, but I'll tell you this. Everyone who knows me knows I travel a lot for work. I have always been in a career for the last 30 years that requires a lot of travel. Most of my jobs have included, except one or two, predominantly men. I have had the good fortune of working in a couple situations where there were a lot of women. In general, there are a lot of men. I have sat at the same table with men, equal roles, sometimes supervisory roles, and the guests and the other people look at me and go, who's taking care of the kids while you're away?
Oh.
No one says that to you. Does anyone go, while you're out with a client? I mean, they might as they're getting to know you with personal conversation. Once you start personally talking, they may ask you. But
Well,
I'm
when
talking.
we're out together, they'll ask us who's taking care of the kids.
No, but
That
that's
makes
different. But I mean, no, but in general, I don't even mean over
No, no
drinks.
one's ever asked me
exactly.
ever
I
who's
mean
taking care of the
at the
kids.
work table,
No,
who
never.
at the meeting, sitting down. Oh,
They
you
tryna-
oh,
they
oh,
tryna
you
belittle.
came. Yeah. Oh, you came in from New York. Oh, that's not, how long are you staying? 3 days. Who's looking at the kids?
Yeah, they
nope.
tryna sun
Hi.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Or so you get that, or you get in a previous situation of mine, I would walk into situations and people go, oh my gosh, but why do you have to work? Why you're just working for fun.
Oh,
You must just
man.
be working for fun.
I bet you need that money.
Right?
Oh man.
Like, what do you mean I'm just working for fun? Nobody would ever look at a man in any particular professional circumstance and go, are you just working because you have to?
Yeah. It's
Right?
yeah, I think it's tied back to like what you said
Right.
about tradition.
Tradition and bias. Our situation is different because, and I'd argue maybe yours too, because you are sort of we're all publicly tied to our spouses in some way. But I'll tell you another thing that happens, right? I go places and people go, oh, what does your husband do? Right?
As if you
Right?
as if you
What does
can't
your
buy
husband do
own.
while you're not here? Like, right? I guarantee you, Martin, where there are situations people don't know we work together or are not, that is not one of the first questions. Oh, what does your wife do? It's just not. You don't even realize that, right? All those unconscious biases exist, right? Which then put women on their back foot. It makes us feel like, that need to constantly like over deliver on the promise. It means like we need to be quiet about what we're doing, the assumptions if we take a day off, what it could be. No one's asking you. We feel the need to say it's something about a kid, but then if you mention the kid, then you're thinking about your kids during the day when you're supposed to be thinking about your kids at work. But a guy can leave to go coach basketball. Go, Enitan. Go teach Miles. You can leave at 4.
So
but
how do you nap? So it's like it's a
crazy.
double. I don't even call it a negative because it's actually the most beautiful thing, a black woman. But the way the society sees it, and the inverse of it is, if there's a totem pole, they put y'all down here, right? I look at y'all, I genuflect in your presence. I look at y'all in a different place, at the place that I know that you all are. But how do you navigate those rooms, knowing these things like? Do you take this home? Is it stressing you out? Have you learned over time that this is the expectation and this is what it is? So you now have adjusted yourself to be able to be in these spaces and still be healthy in these spaces?
Well, I was raised with a father who believes himself to be Larry David. So we have a lot of humor in our home, and so typically I use humor to deflect from those silly questions. Like in the moment, I don't give people the gratitude. My dad also taught me, like, someone asks you a stupid question, give them a stupid answer.
Yeah, your dad is such a cool guy, by the
So
way.
thank you.
Super stylish. Them shoes he had
Yes,
on.
I know. He's
Them
always
shoes
been
are
like
cold,
that.
boy.
He's
Shows up with something real fly just
Italian.
out the gate.
Yeah. Anyway, you haven't even
That's a whole
really seen.
episode.
That's a whole
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
But so like I learned very early on to not give credence to those things, particularly in moments where, like, my amazing husband tells me, I can bring a gun to a knife fight. So like in professional
got it in
settings,
you.
I do a much better job I try more intentionally, and humor helps so that I don't like cut someone at the knees, because there's no need to do it, because most of the time, it is born of just like unconscious bias. It's not always really, it's not always really with bad intention, but they need to be educated because it proves 2 points. I'll tell you the story, and then I'll tell you what I think could like really help us. So right before the pandemic, I'm going to leave the brand out of the name, but they are, I guess you call like an online employment job search service. They had a Women's History Month event. And the bias I'll tell you, the bias against like women, black women, attractive women, no one wants to talk about that. We're getting ready to be seated, and I was speaking at the event. I was one of 5 women being featured to speak. So I'm at the little craft table getting something to drink, and a gentleman of my father's persuasion came and stood next to me, and he was like, we're getting something. And so we started joking about something, right? Whatever we were trying to get at the same time. And I was like, oh, nice to see you. Good thing, nice that you came. And he goes, yeah, my boss made me come. I mean, women are taking our jobs, blacks are taking our jobs. I'm really here because, I got to give my son the insights of everything he's fighting about, because he's about to graduate in a couple of years, and he's worried he's not going to be able to find a job. So, one, that's always really fun when people look at you and don't assume you could be one of the featured speakers. Number two, or just can't understand color, race, ethnicity, what have you. But what that told me early on was that was a real preview to where we are now, right?
Yeah.
That was like the fear and concern about women outpacing men, taking the jobs. It's not just people of color and black people, but it's the women are taking the jobs, and my son's not going to be able to get one.
That's crazy.
And so this is what I think could help. Maybe, I don't know, one of our 5 particularly bright children recently said something to me in the last few years that I thought was really poignant. He went to an incredible private school, and he was asked to be on like a DEI committee, right? So like him and the few other kids of color go to this like Saturday symposium that schools put together for kids of color to talk about DEI. So he comes home, I think like the second year, I'm like, how was it? What was that? He's like, I don't know. You're going to hear from one of the teachers probably because, I said something and whatever. I was like, okay, what'd you say? He's like, well, I just don't understand why we're all talking to each other when we experience the same thing. Like, where are the white people and where are the people that actually need to learn and hear how we're feeling and what's going on to actually make change? We continue to talk to ourselves.
Facts.
And so, to your point, which was like, I think in the home with you and Tish, you can learn from her. But like, where are the conversations where we're bringing men and women together to have these honest conversations, to learn from one another? That doesn't happen. They don't exist.
We just had Alice on here who told us, straight up said, a lot of men have no interest. She will have people hit her up on DM, email for a meeting. Please come in. We'd love to learn about your product. She'd walk in, do the whole pitch, and they'll say, I'm actually not interested. I actually just wanted to meet you, take you to dinner. Like,
Yes.
like it's part of that complete misunderstanding of the fact that there are real women with real solutions, ideas, and they're serious people. And men don't take women seriously.
At all.
And if you don't take them seriously, you're going to do some shit like bring them into a meeting and be like, I have no interest in this thing. Are you free for dinner?
And I don't want to generalize and say men. You know what I'm saying?
The other version of that is amazing. It is like my favorite, and Martin knows that's when I want to like flip the table, is you can like raise your hand, say something, the brilliant idea. There's a moment of pause, and then you repeat it. And the same thing I just said, and everyone's like, yeah, woo,
that's wild work.
That was great. And you're like, I just said, I literally just said that. Martin knows I say that constantly. I'm like, I literally just said that. But it's 2 things that are happening, to be honest. You know what's happening? We start to speak and you start to tune out. That's your 5-second break. To check your phone, to check IG, to text your wife, I'm good, I'll be home at 7, to check on a kid, to check your email. It's like 6 to 15-second tune out. And I might have been, or another smart woman might have been, faster to pull the trigger and speak. And then someone pops up and is like, maybe one word subconsciously they heard, and they're like, here's my idea. And they literally say the same thing. It is infuriating. And you can talk to almost any woman, anything above a manager position, it is happening to them.
And that's why those conversations collectively aren't happening. In 2019, Kenny Burns, shout out to Kenny, Steve Canal, and I took a tour. We had this tour, and the thesis of it was during my book tour, the 3rd book, every time we get in a room with men and women, it was just everyone had that you had a microphone, so you finally, all that pent up information and energy, you finally had to exert out. So it was just a bunch of people talking to each other, nobody listening, right? And we talked yesterday, the humans desire to be seen, heard, and loved.
Yep.
So we said, all right, we need to separate men. So we had a conversation called, we just separate men, separate women, and then we'll bring us together. So we had this tour we went on called For Women Only. It was 3 married men with about 30 plus years of marriage coming in rooms, not to talk, but to listen to women. Taking that data, 7 city tour, now having 4 men only, separating men, now collecting the data from men, and then having for us only, so that we can collectively come together with us, facilitating the conversation where there is decorum, where there's peace, where we can actually be seen, heard, and talk to each other. Where currently, I think everyone is angry, everyone is upset, no one feels seen, heard, or loved, so we're just screaming at each other. So I think that there's going to have to be somebody mature enough to be able to sit us down and have a conversation and lead a conversation, because before we talk about finances, before we talk about legacy, before we talk about entrepreneurship, we got to get our thing together. You know what I'm saying? That's the impetus of all of this.
But that's at the core, like, about communication. And that's something else I've been talking to Martin a lot about, which is, like, I've really been, like, sort of doubling down and digging deeper into, like, all the things you can imagine. You hit a certain age, you want peace, you value time better, you want to have strengthened and better relationships and use each minute wisely. And at the core of all of this is communication, right? And so as I started, like, digging deeper into this and, like, researching and studying, I came across, because I have a certain boss who's used some words to describe me that really troubled me. I'm not sure if you might know him. And so I really
Y'all
was
partners,
like,
he's your boss too, huh?
I was really like, okay, we are clearly on the same path, but disconnected in language we're using. And so what is the issue with language? Because I purport myself to be one who has a great vocabulary, a writer and extensive reader and, like, blah, 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 all the things. And I'm like, he's smart. Why is this not connecting, besides all the other reasons that could be? But the communication is an issue. And one of the things that I found that I'm, like, way in right now is Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart, because what she talks about is that generally we're all communicating, don't quote me on this part, but, like, we're not communicating well because we're using, like, toddler language. We use, like, 3 or 4 words to describe everything. And that, I will tell you, makes him crazy, because that creates a hole so he can win the argument, which then makes me crazy because I want to set the house on fire. And then we don't even know what we're fighting about, but it's really about communication and words. And in Atlas of the Heart, what she talks about is that she has really identified through research and all the great work she does, 87 emotions. And that maybe if we could just, what I've started to tell him is, if we could start to, like, extend our vocabulary, we could, as he says, like, really focus on the thing. The thing. Was that good?
Mm-hmm.
Say
the thing. Say the thing. Say the thing. We could talk about umbrella topics, but if we can get to the thing faster for him, then, and I'm faster with the delivery of the precise thing, then maybe he could better understand it. So I am trying to do that on my part, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Come together and, like, do the work. So I'm trying. And I think as I was reading this, I was like, actually, this is just an expansion of our vocabulary as human beings. It's not even, this could work in work, right? Like the proper use of the word frustration, the proper use of the, like, those types of things, emotions that exist. They don't just exist personally in personal relationships, but in professional relationships. So maybe we could enhance the way we communicate. So even when 2 things are true, we can find that middle ground faster. But I think we're just missing, and I'm scared. I'm scared for our girls, for all of our girls. Hopefully Ava's young enough that she'll catch some wind of a change that we just don't see yet.
Yeah,
But-
we
but
cover these
maybe-
babies in prayer.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like we're going backwards. Like we're going backwards with what's right for women and the opportunities for women. I feel like it's just getting worse and worse. We see this with women of color who were convinced, all of our amazingly talented women who were convinced to take these beautiful DEI jobs who've all been let go now instead of reorganized. Like, it just, there you go. I mean, I could like
Here's
wax
one-
poetic about this stuff.
No, I agree. I know we're gonna wrap soon.
Okay, yes,
I'll just say that for perspective's sake, there's some building going on, construction going outside my building, and it looks like something's being destroyed because of the process in which they're constructing this building, but it's actually being built up. But if you were to look outside, you'd be like, dang, this is like a mess out there. They're destroying this city up. This is horrible. They're tearing this place up. But from a different perspective and framing, it's like they're actually building it up. It's a process, and it requires patience. It requires endurance. It requires faith, hope, all these things. So I'd suggest that things are cyclical, and every time that cycle hits, there's like incremental change. So it's hard to see sometimes, but it's like it's improving, but it looks like regression because like the cycle's going. It looks like we're going back, then we're going forward, then going, but it's getting better every time. And I believe we are in a season of restoration, but before you have to clean something up, you know, like you have to see the mess and the pile and the destruction. And I think we're looking at construction. It just looks like destruction, right? And it feels like destruction, but in due time, restoration is inevitable.
Tamara, you've literally blown us away with the information you've given us today. I think that you've got some amazing insight into the challenges when it comes to not only the corporate, but also the home life as well for between men and women. So we thank you for that. And we really hope that you'll come back.
And you? I mean, we might have to give her a stipend or like
something like that, because we're getting taught here. We're getting taught here. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, of
Writer.
course.
Send
Thank
us
you
your
for
writer next time.
Yes, I'll make sure I'll check in with my husband at home about that. But no, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back and talk some more.
Martin, we got
Thank you,
another
thank you.
one.
We got another one in, baby.
Yes, sir. So this is
The Quiet Truth. What's up?
episode blah 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 blah.